Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're looking into the disappearance of Michael Guy Johnston. He's been missing since July 22nd, 1981. It was just 12 days after his 32nd birthday. He was 5'10 to 5'11. Brigham City, Utah, Box Elder County, brown hair. This says he had bluish gray eyes, but it says that some other places say he had brown eyes. Mustache, possible goatee. He had some scars. You can pause it and read it if you like. And now we're looking at the circumstances into his disappearance. Mr. Johnson was last seen July 22nd, 1981 at the motel apartment complex of an acquaintance, Rudy Matthew, I don't know how to pronounce that, Reviterano, forgive me for not pronouncing that correctly, was convicted of the second-degree murder of Mr. Johnson. It was the first time in the state of Utah that a person was convicted of murder without a body. The facts of the case are below as presented in court by the state of Utah. Reviterano is the ex-husband of Debbie Griffiths. On the evening of July 22nd, 1981, the defendant ate dinner with Griffiths at her motel apartment. He assisted in preparing the dinner by peeling potatoes with a knife. After dinner, Griffiths and her brother Richard went to a nearby bar, and the defendant accompanied them. At the bar, Griffiths met the victim, Mike Johnston, for the first time. The two talked and played pool together. The defendant was visibly jealous. When the bar closed at 1 o'clock, Griffiths and Johnson were in the bar talking, and the defendant had somehow been locked out because the bar closed. The defendant pounded on the door and yelled angrily. Griffiths testified that the defendant was upset because she was paying attention to Johnston. At about 1:30 a.m., Griffiths and Johnston left the bar and went to the house of another person Griffiths had met that night. At about 5:30 a.m., Johnston drove Griffiths back to her apartment. 5:30 in the morning. Griffiths asked Johnson to escort her inside because she was afraid that the defendant might be hiding there. Now, you might want to consider not doing this and letting the police do this instead of you so that this doesn't happen to you, because apparently she had good reason to be afraid. Upon entering, they discovered that the defendant was hiding there. He said that, and I'm guessing he didn't live there or shouldn't have been there if he's hiding in there. I don't know, because it's her ex-husband, right? Was it her ex-husband at the time? He said to Johnson, "What the hell are you doing here?" Griffiths quickly left the apartment. Sounds like she took off running, and as she did, she heard scuffling and then a loud groan that sounded like someone getting hit in the stomach. After leaving the apartment, Griffiths ran under a bridge to the other side of the street. Looking back, she saw the defendant leave the apartment carrying a large white bundle, which he placed in the trunk of Johnston's car. He then got into the car and drove away. Mike Johnston has never been seen since then. Griffiths called the police, and two officers arrived at her apartment at 6:08 a.m. Now, it would have been better to have the police go into the apartment with her in the first place if she was afraid. So just so that you realize this, because sometimes you think, oh, I can protect them, I can talk to them, I'll make sure they're going to be safe. But apparently this isn't always the best thing to do. They found fresh blood splattered throughout the apartment. Blood from one large spot was determined to be type A, the same as the victim's. The defendant's blood is type O. A white sheet had been removed from Griffith's bed, and kitchen knives were missing, including the knife that the defendant had used to peel potatoes the evening before. Later that same day, July 22nd, the police discovered Johnston's car parked less than 2 blocks away from Johnston's apartment. So, later that same day, July 22nd, the police discovered Johnston's car parked less than 2 blocks away from Johnston's apartment. So that means he brought the car back later the same day. So he couldn't have driven that far, right? I don't know how much later in the day it was. The rear bumper was stained with blood and appeared to have been smeared from the inside of the trunk outward. Inside the trunk, a large puddle of fresh blood had soaked into the trunk mat. The blood was determined to be type A. The police also discovered a Zippo lighter and 2 Pall Mall cigarettes inside of the trunk. Johnston's roommate, Ronald Mason, testified that Johnston usually carried that type lighter and cigarettes in his shirt pocket. On August 6, 1981, approximately 2 weeks after Johnston's disappearance, a maintenance worker at the motel found a knife on the motel roof. Griffiths identified it as the knife that the defendant had used to peel potatoes on the evening of July 21st. The knife blade had rusted, but a spot of blood was discovered on the handle. Analysis showed it to be either type A or type B human blood. When animal blood is typed, it is sometimes mistaken for type B human blood. Therefore, if the knife had been used to cut meat, the blood from the meat could account for classifying the blood as type B human blood. On the above evidence, the jury could have reasonably concluded that the defendant had intentionally killed Johnston. Rebeterino has served his sentence and finished parole. Johnston remains still have not been located. So he's never told them where to find his body, even though he got convicted, he served his sentence. He's never let the family have closure or to be able to scatter the ashes, and that really bothers me. It makes me feel like, why not tell him where the body is? Are there any other bodies there? Is there a reason not to tell him where the body is? It makes me question if there's any other bodies where his body is, or why not? Why not let his family have closure? So, this is the information that someone found or gave to the Doe Network that's on there. So, and then here we have an image of Michael Johnston. Oh, yeah, it's just not any bigger than the other image, so sometimes they're bigger. 32 years old, Brigham City, Utah. This is the Namus case. It says 5'11", 160, 165 pounds. Brown hair, blue eyes. One military doctor said blue eyes, and one military doctor stated gray eyes. Oh, so he must have been in the military, right? So here he thought he could protect her. And here's the area, so you could see. There's a national forest there. There's the lake and stuff there. So I went to look for, unidentified males to see if anybody might look like him that could be him. And I found this one. It said August 28th, 1982, Sweetwater County, Wyoming. Died 4 months. Estimated date of death was 4 months prior, so that would have been April probably. Age 23 to 35. 5'5" to 5'7", so he's too short. And he died before him. Pipeline Pete. And so Pipeline Pete was found in Sweetwater County. So, and then I'm going to get rid of this. I wonder if I can get rid of that. Okay, here we go. So that you can see there is, what is that, some kind of a reservoir there. There's some other bodies of water around. I don't know what this is. And there's a river right there. Bear River, it says. So there's a lot of bodies of water around. It just seems like if he If the car was found later that day, right there, there's another reservoir. There's a lot of bodies of water. I don't know what he had access to. But yeah, there's a lot of places there, so. And it doesn't seem like he went far. It bothers me that the family never gets to have closure. It really does. They don't get to have the ashes and scatter the ashes. And I don't understand why not let them have that. So, let's see what else there is. There's this John Doe found in Salt Lake City, Utah, 1981 to 1982. Only 5'4", so that's way too short, so that can't be him. Dark brown, moderate graying, so you can see there's that person. And you can pause that to read it if you want to. Someone that was canoeing in the Jordan River found the body floating, so. And he died, date of discovery March 13th, months prior. Anyway, so I don't know who that might have been, but. And here's the Charlie Project that mentions Michael Guy Johnson. And he says that he was last seen at Debbie Griffith's apartment at a motel in Brigham City, Utah. He had met her for the first time at the bar the previous evening, and they talked and played pool together. Rudy was also at the bar and was jealous because she was paying attention to Johnson. He and Griffiths had divorced in 1979. 1979. So they've been divorced for 2 years, but remained friendly with each other. Rubinteriano had a history of being violently jealous of any man who approached Griffiths, and several months before had tried to run over a man who was helping Griffiths move some furniture. At 5:30 a.m., July 22nd, Johnson and Griffiths went to her apartment and she asked him to escort her inside because she was afraid he might be hiding there. And he was. So, Rubinteriano shouted at Johnson and Griffiths quickly left the apartment, leaving the two men behind. I wonder if he had abused her because she's taken off running, so. As she did, she heard the scuffling noises and a loud groan as if someone had been hit in the abdomen. She ran outside, hid under a bridge. From this position, she watched him leave her apartment carrying a large white bundle. So it's got the same information as the other one did. You can pause it and read it if you want to. I'm going to scroll down so you can see it. Rubinteriano was subsequently charged with Johnson's murder. He claimed he was innocent and Johnson was alive. At the trial, his defense attorney admitted the two men had gotten into a physical altercation on the day of Johnson's disappearance, but said Rubinteriano had simply bloodied Johnson's nose and then left. So, he was convicted of second-degree felony homicide and sentenced to prison. He was released from custody after 5 years. He only served 5 years in prison for killing somebody, and now lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. His remains have never been found, but authorities continue to search for him. He only served 5 years. That's crazy, isn't it? His whole life is gone. His whole life is gone. Somebody murdered him in cold blood. His whole life's gone, you know. He's 32 years old. So how old would he have lived? What? Anywhere from, if he had a normal life, he could live anywhere from another 30 to 70 years. And that man killed him and only got 5 years. So, Michael Guy Johnson, homicide, date of birth 1981, July 10th, 1981. This is his height, 5'10". So, and there's a phone number to contact if you have any information. I went through trying to find some people that some unidentified males to see if there was anyone in the area that might fit him. And I didn't see anybody in that area, so. But it's pretty close to the borders, so hold on. So the Nevada border's right there. And the Idaho border's right there. And the Wyoming border's right there. So, and Colorado's pretty close too, so. Anyway, and then there's this one found in Old River, California. Found August 6, 1982, age 20 to 40. A John Doe. 5'7" to 5'11". I just feel like it, you know, I don't know if he could drive that far and get back. Blonde, strawberry blonde hair, that's not going to be him. I don't feel like he could drive that far and then get back with a car and park it, you know, 2 blocks away. Butte County, California, August 28, 1982, someone was found. About 6 foot tall, estimated. So, and then it talks, it looks like they had items from Texas in their pockets. So, you can read that if you want to. Here's an unidentified male found in Texas, about estimated 5'10", estimated year of death 1981. And then it talks about what they were wearing. So, and then we have this one in Oregon, Clackamas County, Oregon, but too short, 5'5" to 5'7", so that couldn't be him because they're not tall enough to be him. And we have one in Clark County, Nevada, 1982, 5'9" though, which is, you know, he would be 5'10" to 5'11". That's pretty close. Brown straight hair, 4 inches in length, possible mustache. The victim was found in a wash located approximately a half a mile southwest, well, 0.6 mile, half a mile. So it gives you that at Lake Mead Recreation Area. His hands were bound behind his back with electrical wire consistent of a blue-colored insulating material. I just think that seems a little far, but I don't know. Yeah, that's way down here. So, I don't think so. Then we have, this one was found in Las Vegas, Clark County, Nevada, 1981, 4 to 8 weeks prior. They could have died at the same time. 5'5" to 5'7". Medium brown, straight, slightly curvy, very fine, 3 inches in length. And their clothes. Remains located in a vacant lot, southeast corner of Russell Road and Sandhill. So I don't see anybody that I would think might be him, but I don't know. So please pray for his loved one and his family, because that's really sad that they've never had closure. They've never been able to scatter his ashes even. I mean, and this other guy only served 5 years in prison. That really bothers me. So, and it is a lesson to be learned. You know, if somebody feels like they're in danger and that they can't trust their ex-husband, maybe you should have the police go check and see. Because I don't think he would have traveled very far. It just seems like if later the same day, I don't know. So it really bothers me that they haven't been able to scatter the ashes or anything. So if you have any information, maybe somebody who was in prison with a man, or, you know, if he's been to bars, maybe he drinks and talks, maybe he told somebody some information. Maybe you mentioned it to authorities and maybe you just didn't mention it to the right person. Maybe it's been a lot of years and you mentioned that information, they don't have it anymore, or you were afraid back then to tell them the information. Please come forward if you have any information. and provide it to the police. Let them know where you got it, or if you're not sure if it's accurate, let them decide if it's important or if it will help them. And if you know who any of these John Does might be that haven't been identified, their families don't have closure as well. So that, please contact authorities and let them know if you have any information at all. And please don't forget to pray for the families of the John Does as well, because that's a lot of people they don't have closure. So you should always come forward if you have any information whatsoever. So, and you might can find an email on there if you want to email them or whatever. Anyway, please feel free to leave comments and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.